It's day 596. It's also December 22nd, 2020, and we are in Burlington, Colorado. You ever wake up in the morning and ask yourself, what am I doing? And more importantly, why? Yeah, me too. Hi, my name's Craig, and this is my story. A story about life. Life out there. For visuals while listening, to watch the video versions of this podcast, or even just to say hey, check us out on our website at lifeoutthere.me. Our next stop would be less discovery and more port in the storm sort of thing. We'd come rolling in from Kansas on I-70, weather reports blaring, and honestly, we didn't even need those. The road itself was saying it, whispering and then shouting, find shelter, find warmth, find a place to stop this big metal box before Mother Nature really decides to test our commitment to the road. And by the time we'd hit Burlington, just 170 miles from Hayes, the skies were already bruising over. Temperatures dropping like a rock. Snow flurries doing that sideways dance they only do when the wind is in one of its moods. And this time, the winds, they were in a full-blown temper tantrum. Gusts punching us at 75 miles an hour. Vacilando shaking enough to remind us that, yeah, we're small, and Mother Nature is not. So we parked. And honestly, we felt lucky to have made it to a place where safe parking was even possible. We'd spend the next 2 days tucked in tight, letting Mother Nature get whatever this was out of her system. And there was something almost cozy about it. Warm lights on inside Vacilando while the wind tried to peel the siding off every structure within a mile radius. For us, it was movies and popcorn, and that very specific sound of wind slamming into aluminum. You even feel it in your ribs after a while. An outdoor exploration? Yeah, that wasn't happening. We ventured out for a couple of brisk, just to say we tried, sort of walks, but mostly we stayed in. And I read about Burlington, about this place where we had landed. Burlington sits out on what's referred to as Colorado's High Plains in Kit Carson County. It's about 4,170 feet above sea level. And it's the county seat. And as of the 2020 census, just over 3,000 folks call it home. But how did Burlington come to be, I wondered? The town as we know it was established in 1888. It was built to serve as one of those little towns needed along the tracks of the Chicago, Rock Island, Pacific Railroad, when the railway lines were being laid all across eastern Colorado. Here's a funny side note. Some folks originally laid out a settlement about a mile west of where Burlington sits now. A man named Lowell secured that land, hoping for the railroad. But seems he had mismeasured. The railroad ended up building its first depot at what is now Burlington, and those early settlers had to literally, physically, move their buildings over to the correct site. And trains began running here in 1888. And as for the name, well, I kind of assumed it came from some local railroad company like that big Burlington Lines. But that's not the case here. According to the town's own history, the name Burlington came from a group of land buyers in the area. They had ties and memories from other towns named Burlington. Some of them were from Burlington, Kansas, and Burlington, Iowa. So they simply insisted on the name Burlington. And as we'd already learned, Burlington eventually became the county seat of Kit Carson County. It was a close race over another contender, but local voters picked Burlington in 1889, and the town even offered to build a courthouse on spec for around $4,500 to seal the deal. And agriculture quickly became the lifeblood here. The surrounding plains, wide open, sun-drenched, they proved perfect for wheat and corn. Even today, farmland and grain production remain the core of the economy. But it also turns out that Burlington's not just fields and flat horizons. There's a heart of history and a sprinkling of magic tucked into the town, too, symbolized by one of America's rare treasures, the Kit Carson County Carousel. This ain't your cheap plastic kiddie ride. This thing was built in 1905 by the Philadelphia Toboggan Company. It was built for the old amusement park at Elledge Gardens in Denver, but in 1928, the carousel was sold to Kit Carson County for $1,200, and that included delivery by train, 170 miles east to Burlington. It would spend its first few years here tucked away through the hard times. But in 1937, it was reassembled and set spinning in its new home. And what makes it a gem? 46 hand-carved wooden animals, a real menagerie, horses, deer with real antlers, giraffes, camels, a seahorse even, many of them still carrying their original paint. And inside, a 1912 Wurlitzer, quote-unquote, monster military band organ. It's the only surviving carousel in America built by that company, with all original animals and original paint in that menagerie format. So Burlington kind of has this cool dual identity. Wide open agricultural plains, and a heart that holds on to history, art, even a little bit of wonder. Even while that storm raged outside my window, I could feel it, that blend of dusty plains, railroad dust, hard work, and a quiet, almost magic resting just under the surface. Reading about the town, I kept thinking how much better it would have been to experience it without battling nature's rage. The place felt like that blend that we've grown to love. History held tightly in one hand, future plans clutched confidently in the other. And during our second wind-battered night inside Vacilando, it hit me. Over a month had passed since the presidential election. And for the first time in my adult life, I hadn't watched it unfold. I'd mailed in my ballot weeks earlier. I went to bed on election night with my fingers crossed and woke up relieved. And yet, here we are, trapped in that bizarre 60-day limbo where the crazy man is refusing to acknowledge the results. COVID's still ripping through the country. Hospitals overwhelmed, families terrified, everyone's exhausted. And that lunatic's out there, city to city, yelling, "Stop the steal," screaming about rigging, and refusing to concede. Simply ignoring the fact that 81 million Americans told him pretty clearly to pack his bags, go home. It's kind of surreal watching it all from inside an RV while a blizzard howls outside. It's like the whole country is in a storm of its own. A storm of lies, of chaos, sheer refusal to accept reality. But on this day, this very specific date, something in the air feels different. Slightly. Barely. But real. And maybe it's just me, stuck inside watching the world from a frosted window. But it feels like the nation is inching, shuffling, maybe even just crawling, closer to normal, closer to some sense of stability again, closer to someone sane taking the wheel again. And now, with the storm easing, at least for the moment, we'll make a break for it tomorrow morning. We'd gotten within some 500 miles of our destination on the western slope, but those last 500 miles through the Rockies in December? Well, that's not nothing. We'll have to thread the needle with the weather, time our climbs, and be smart about where we land each night. I'm not sure how long the rest of the drive will take. Not sure where we'll sleep. And quite honestly, for us, that's kind of become the best part of this whole thing. Wherever that is, I wonder what we'll learn there. This thing called life comes with a lot of rules. Maybe it's time to break a few. Because you can. No, seriously. You can.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.